Meanwhile, Barasam, deprived of his power over time, was almost helpless before the Enchantress. Desperate and frightened, he crawled along the ledge towards Raya. But before he could reach her, Kira flew up to meet him and cast her net over him. At once the creature began to whimper. Then, to the surprise of all who saw it, he rolled over on his back in miserable submission before Kira and the Enchantress. And so Barasam was taken. When the pit lord saw that Barasam had been captured, he turned at once and sprang forward to free him from the net. With astonishing speed, he struck upward and caught Kira in one great claw as she was still in the air. The harpy gave a sharp cry of pain and in her terror drove her talons desperately into the pit lord's hand.
Now, Princess Rila,
Daryl shouted. At once a ring of green fire appeared about the changeling princess's feet. It widened and rose around her like a living column. As it passed over her, Daryl saw her shape begin to change. In a moment there stood before him no longer the princess, but a great owl-like creature with the body of a Vakorok, vast and solemn and terrible to behold. In a shrill, strange voice the creature called, "What am I to do?"
you have holy magic.
Daryl shouted back.
The demons have no power over you.
At that, the Vakorok spread her mighty wings and with one tremendous beat rose into the air above him. The force of it drove a blast of wind over Daryl so strong he had to lift his arm to shield his face. Then the great owl creature flew straight at the pit lord, her talons stretched towards his head. But the pit lord moved with dreadful quickness. He swung his sword at her as she came. To Daryl's amazement, the blade struck her wing and bounced away harmlessly as though it had met something stronger than steel. The pit lord gave a cry of rage and fear together, for he knew at once that this was holy magic, and it was more than he could master. With a howl, he turned to flee. Yet the Vakorok was as swift as he. In an instant, she swept before him and blocked his path. At that very moment, Daryl felt a gust of foul wind whirl through the chamber, rank and loathsome beyond words. He looked, and there beside the pit lord there appeared in the air a black withering mass like a ball of living tentacles twisting over one another. Within that darkness he could just make out the dim outline of a figure. Then Zala's red dragon fire burst across the black mass, and in the flare of it Daryl saw the shape of a woman standing there, with dark tentacles flowing from her arms like dreadful garments. She stretched out those arms, and the withering cords parted. Behind them there opened a demon gate. "The witch is opening a portal," called Kira. Then Vakorok struck at the pit lord, and her talons fastened herself on his back, struggling to lift him. But at once the black tentacles swarmed over her legs and began to drag both her and the pit lord downward toward the gate. She beat her wings furiously, but now she too was caught. With a piercing screech, she struggled to tear herself free from the hideous thing that bound her. Daryl and Extar rushed forward together, their swords burning with fire, and struck at the tentacles. Blow after blow fell until the withering cords were severed. Freed at last, the Vakorok released the pit lord and sprang from the gate, wheeling in the air and making ready to attack again. But then the witch ceased her chanting. The black opening began to shrink. In that last instant, the pit lord threw himself into the darkness, and the witch followed after them. Then the portal closed. Suddenly the chamber grew almost still. The only sound that remained were the muttered curses of the demons, who lay bound fast in the strange elastic slime that wrapped itself around their bodies. Around them stood the changelings, their many-faceted eyes glowing and their wings beating with anger. Then once more a ring of green fire sprung up about the legs of the Valkorak. It rose over her body, and as it passed, the great owl form dwindled and changed until Princess Rhea stood there again, pale and trembling. Daryl sheathed his sword and went at once to her.
Are you hurt?
He asked. No, she said, I am well enough, only a little weak from becoming the Valkorak. But where is the Pit Lord gone? We should pursue him. Extar answered before Daryl could speak.
The demon gate is shut. The Pit Lord has fled into the underworld. We have not the power to follow.
Then the Enchantress, who was hovering over the place where the Pit Lord had vanished, called out, I have found something. She descended and stooped to the ground. When she rose again, she held a tiny object in her hand. The Pit Lord has lost his ring. She held it up, and Daryl saw a red spark from its dim light. He looked slowly around the chamber. There is nothing more for us here, he said at last. Take the ring, gather the prisoners, and let us return to Esposa.